Hammer time.
The glare.
Hello.
Good evening. Welcome to Couples Coaching 101. And we missed you all last week. We had to cancel at the last minute. So we apologize if that caused any inconvenience for you guys, because that was kind of at the last minute. But we could not get back home in time to make it happen last week. And then I have been away for a couple of weeks on different things and appointments and appointments that I've had, and I was traveling for work as well. So now we're back, and this week we're going to talk to you about Next Level 2.0, taking your relationship to the next level 2.0. That's right. So first, before we dive into our topic for this week, we just want to let you know that this is a public forum. Anything that you say, post, or write in the comment section is public information. And if you have a more private matter that you would like for us to address with you, please send us an email to lifewithoutlimitscc@gmail.com. And please remember to share, post the video with others. And so we'll get right in. Hey Jazz, hey Kia, yeah, I miss you guys too. All right, so we're gonna get started now.
Okay, and so tonight we want to talk about how to take your relationship to the next level. And so if you're dating, if you're married, if you're cohabitating, if you're soon to be married, then this show is for you tonight. And you know, she might get a lot of comments from people saying, well, George, I'm not really in a relationship, so I don't think this would be something for me. And my response is, you know, you plan on being in one in the future, right? And so, but anyway, tonight we want to just take a couple of minutes and focus on why we do this show. Okay? Because, you know, it is something that you have to be on purpose in doing. You know, we believe in living life on purpose. Absolutely. And this is something that you really have to be on purpose to do. I mean, it felt awkward not doing the show last week, you know, because we're so accustomed to doing it, you know, every Wednesday. But the first thing is, I think the reason why we do this is because, you know, we want to give back. Okay. And so I just think that there's some things that happen to us throughout our relationship that really sculptured and really kind of got us to where we are right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's probably not a topic untouched that we haven't had some experience with on some level. So given that we have a broad experience, specific and live individually through us, but a broad experience of a lot of things that couples face in their relationships today.
Yeah. The best way to know what you want is a lot of times by doing what you don't want. Right? The other point is, you know, we receive a lot of positive feedback. You know, it's encouraging. You know, when you see people out in public and you know, they make comments, and as well as, you know, on the show as well. And so the other thing is, we've attended a lot of seminars and retreats and read a lot of books, and still reading you know, a lot of books. You know, because we're still growing. You know, it's I always say it's what you learn after you know everything that really counts, right? And so you know, we just believe in, you know, just being the best that we can be, right? I mean, YOLO, right?
Absolutely. That's, you only live once.
That's exactly. As far as I know. You only live once.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct. And as time go on with this, like with what we notice with our following and the comments and the emails and the feedback that we get, this may become a really more specific type of forum, only because we feel so strongly about the family. And a family unit is a group of people that got each other's back. They love each other. They support each other. So your family doesn't always have to be just blood. Howsoever, when we talk about marriage and marital relationships, there's some really specific things that needs to happen for that marriage and that family to be successful.
Right. That's a very good point, honey. And so one other thing is we believe that your most rewarding times will come from intimate relationships, and some of your most challenging times will come from intimate relationships. One of the biggest stressors that you can have is a relationship stressor. It affects your job. It affects your mood. It affects everything, man. And so wouldn't it be great if you could really work on that and get better at it to improve it so it can be more complementary to your success? Which brings me to the last point, is studies show that people who are married, doesn't say happily married, it says married, have more success, make more money, and they're just happier, they're more adjusted in life, right? And so what if you could be happily married? What would that be like? Wow, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So, next level. So we're talking about next level, taking your relationship to the next level, 2.0, right?
Yeah.
All right. And so point number one is you got to commit to the relationship process. It's a process. Relationships are a process. It is like like a plant, like a flower growing.
Yeah.
It's a process. Mm-hmm. And so, and in that process, I always like to think there are two important days. And there's the day you say I do, and then there's the day you mean I do.
Right, when you really mean it. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's years apart. And I say that with
why you
not
do
being
all that
facetious,
with the lips
but really think about it, because sometimes people get married, and let's talk about men and women, okay? Because that's what I know, and this is every relationship can take something from this. But what I know is from being a woman, being a black woman. And what George knows is from being a man, being a black man. So you take that, you're looking at maturity level, you may get married at late 20s or whatever. The woman is probably further along in maturity than the man is. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there was some infidelity or just not taking the relationship serious or taking her for granted that may go along. So it may be 5, 6, 7 years later before, if they're still together, before he's really committed to the I do that he said 7 years previously. So that's why I say that with that kind of emphasis.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point. So which brings us to the next point. So point number 2 is make a decision. And so, I know, for me, I'm just thinking back, and I'm just kind of rewinding the tape from years back. A lot of times you're kind of on the fence. 1 minute you're in, the next minute you're out. 1 minute you think it's going to work, and the next minute you don't. And what happens is it's tough to move forward when you're on the fence. I always like to think, and I've heard this before, and I know you've probably heard this before too, but when you decide, it's like homicide, suicide, you kill all options, right? You got to nail the back door shut, so you don't just slide out the back door. I was talking to one guy, and I said, well, when it comes to relationships, I said, what are you good at? And he said, George, I'm good at setting foundations. But then he leaves. So he's got a bunch of foundations, but anyway, so you want to kill all the other options. One of the other things that I think about, and something we said early on, was we're not going to mention the D word.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
Because for a while there, it seemed like every time we would get upset, and get upset at one another. It was like, well, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm going to my mother's, or I'm the D word, right? Divorce, right? You remember that? You remember we said, hey, no more. We're not gonna say that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it was out of emotion anyway.
Right.
So, so you kill other options. One of the other things too is, you've really got nothing to fear but fear itself. And a lot of times we play out the worst case scenarios. Well, what if it works? What if you're able to work through it? What if you're able to grow through it? What if you're able to learn from it? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I want to say something about that, because my personal philosophy, like a relationship that's going through a challenge, and particularly if you both are committed and you both want to be together, you want to stay married, you want to stay in a relationship, don't give, I guess, when things are bad, that's not the time to leave, because you're not making, now granted, when we're talking about, safety, any sort of domestic things, that we're not talking about anything of that nature. Right. That is no type of compromise in those type of situations, because you need to be out of that situation. But if none of that is a part of it, if something is just a bad you got some issues that's going on, a stressor, whether it's a financial stressor, let's use that, because 5-7 years ago the economy was really bad. 8 years ago, really bad. So that's not the time to leave. The old saying of kick a dog when they're down kind of thing. That only makes a bad situation worse. So, the whole fear thing is just like George says, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. So, all right, I'll go ahead. I lost my train of thought on the next point.
That's great. I'm sorry. Okay, so once you make a decision, once you get over, the fear, then you can move forward. Then you can move forward with possibilities. Okay, but it's difficult to do that until then. The other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight too is the S word. No, not sex, but submission. About submit. And this was something that kind of, everybody's got a different view of what they think a man is or what they think a husband is. And a lot of times it's based upon what you grew up with. It might be based upon a television show. There were shows that I enjoyed, like The Wonder Years. I don't know if you remember that. Leave It to Beaver. Daddy Knows Best. I don't know if you remember. And it's interesting because on I may be aging myself. The millennials on the show, they're going, what are you talking about, George? But what I figured out is that's on television. And so, but somehow you kind of incorporate different things that you see from all over, and it's even more so if you don't have a strong example in the home, a strong father figure or a strong mother figure, okay, and I might say a positive example, because sometimes you can have those figures in a home, but sometimes it's really not that positive. Some of the things I grew up with, and I attempted them, and they got me in trouble. Well, they worked back in the 60s just fine, but we're in the 2000s, and it doesn't transfer over. Okay, and so submission. So, and here's what submission looks like. At the operating table, you have the nurse. You got the anesthesiologist or the nurse anesthetist, and you have a doctor. Now, the doctor don't do what the anesthesiologist or the nurse anesthetist does. The nurse anesthetist don't do what a nurse does or what the doctor does. So everybody has their part. And so the doctor submits to the anesthesiologist. The anesthesiologist submits to the doctor. When it comes to the surgeon doing the cut and where to make the cut and how deep to make the cut and what a cut should look like, the anesthesiologist doesn't tell a doctor how to do that, right? But he follows his lead, right? And vice versa. Well, it works the same way in relationships. I mean, I'm good at a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about, or I'm just not that good at it. Right. And that's what I have my partner for. That's what my wife is for. So, but I've got to put myself in a position where I relinquish control. I relinquish authority and feel okay about it. Okay? It doesn't challenge my manhood.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Submission is a powerful thing because you know that the best person is going to handle the thing of their strength. So how powerful is that to know? And again, you know, the head can't do anything without the head. So, anyway.
Okay. So, and it allows you to maximize your partner's strengths. And that's what it's all about, man. That's when it's good. When you're the best you that you can be and your partner appreciates you being the best you that you can be. And they submit to you being the best you that you can be.
And let's give some other, because we had talked about some other examples earlier.
Yeah.
Some other really practical day-to-day type things. You mentioned decorating.
Right.
You know, just decorating your house.
Yep.
Like if the guy is not good at that, why are you going to try to take control of that? That should be something she should do.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying. Paint colors or whatever it is.
Right.
You know,
right.
I'm not going to get out there and try to change the oil.
I have an opinion. You say, well, George, you don't have an opinion about the color of the walls? Absolutely, I have an opinion.
Yeah, he always has an opinion.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with what she says. The reason why is because she has a history of doing a great job in that area.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's not my strength. So I don't mind relinquishing control into what color fabric we're going to have for the curtains or the walls or whether you follow me, the whole decorating thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so but then it appreciates you. Then it appreciates you.
Yeah.
For your strength.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of the story, and I'm gonna close out on this. It reminds me of the story. I heard the story about the draft horse. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But draft horse is a very powerful horse, and they've been used for years for pulling, because one horse by itself can pull 8,000 pounds. That's a lot. Okay, if we had to put that in perspective, it would be like four Toyota Corollas. Right? So 4 cars, 1 horse. So when you put 2 horses together, you think 8,000, 2 horses together can pull 16,000 pounds, right? Well, that's what I thought. Well, what I found out is 2 horses together can pull 3 times the amount. So it becomes exponential. So 3 horses together pulls 24,000 pounds.
Exponential strength.
That's 12 Toyota Camrys. Corollas. Right? So think about that for a second. So working together synergizes, allowing others to operate in their strength, making a decision to be in that relationship through thick and thin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see that too, Michelle. She said you tried to change the oil. Yeah, I actually did used to change the oil on my first car, a Mercury Lynx. I used to change the oil on it in college. Yeah.
So you know how to change the oil?
Well, I used to. That was a car in the 80s. I don't know about these 2000s now. I don't know where the oil thing is. I don't do that anymore. But yes, I used to change the oil.
Okay.
And could change a tire.
You want to give our tablet before we close out?
So the tablet for this week. So what is one thing that you that your partner is actually better at, that is their strength, that you can actually relinquish that control and allow them to lead in that area? You'll find you'll be less stressed. They'll be less stressed. There'll be a lot more positive energy around that item, whatever it is, whether it's they really are better at organizing and paying the bills on time.
We learned that one quickly.
We learned that one too. So, sometimes one person is better than the other on how they do things. So whatever it is, sit down, talk with your partner, figure out that thing. You probably know what it is, but you just kind of want control. For like me, I knew how I could finagle the money, where I could have extra to do what I wanted to do with it. So anyway, I'm telling all my secrets now, right? But anyway, so whatever that is, figure out together. Maybe you have an idea, and then sit down together, and you ain't got to say, I'm giving you control of this. Neither one of you have to do it that way. It's because of me, because I gave you control. Because I used to kind of say that, like, I let you be the lead. I had to learn to stop saying that too. So anyway, I just leave it at that. That's a whole nother lesson. Or session. So thank you so much for participating. Hey, Miss McDonald, she said, I like the idea on submission, other ideas on what looks like when it comes to any other ideas on what it looks like when it comes to other areas like parenting, finances, and career.
Yeah.
Ooh. I tell you, on submission, that's a very interesting comment, and I know we're out of time. I'm going to try to just answer that really quickly, and then we can maybe talk offline a little bit more about that. But I think one is tapping into your value system and knowing what your value system is, particularly when you talk about parenting and career. And I know for me personally, my family value, our family unit, was more important to me than my career. When I proceeded to go to college and then go to graduate school, I never would have thought that my family was going to be more of value to me. I really didn't. That's why I was pursuing a master's degree and really have been accepted to go to doctoral school. But I decided to go in a different way after some years of working, and when the maternal instinct started flowing for me, I was like, I think I might want to stay home for a year after I have the baby. And that year, by the time I was pregnant and planning to be home, I was like, I think I want to stay home with the baby. Like, I don't want to go back to work. So it does look very different. There was many things that I personally went through doing that, because I was someone who was used to working since I was like 17, maybe 16, my first little part-time job. 17 years old, I had a job. I worked all through college. And this was the first time that I had to say, okay, I need to do this with this money. Do we have it? Can I do it? Is it okay? Like, it was somewhat asking permission, but it was really more about communicating so that we can be on the same page with our finances. So it did look very different, and that was an adjustment. So I'll share some more and maybe an email and offline, because I'm way out of time. But thank you so much for your question. Thank you, and be sure to post and share the video. Remember, anything that you share, post, or write in the comment section is public, because this is a public forum and this is coaching, not counseling. Share, subscribe to the videos, look for them on YouTube, and like the videos. Thank you.
And remember, we empower
the people that build the relationships. Thanks for tuning in.